We're grading next week's two-start starters on a 0 to 5 scale, as we normally do here on the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Clay here with Todd Zola, the normal Friday combination, and we're going to be looking ahead to next week's two-start starters, as we normally do. Starters. I don't know why I said it like that, but looking forward to that. Todd, I'm hurting in a bad way offensively on some of my fantasy teams, but trying to manage otherwise, trying to stay afloat. How are you doing on this Friday afternoon?
Well, you're the only one, Clay. Everybody else is crushing it offensively, and you're the only one.
Yeah, only my teams are doing bad offensively.
Ah, man, you know what? It's just even more important just to just keep the lineup spots getting something now, just so you don't fall too far behind. And then when things start to flip back, when it gets warmer, when they put a little more juice in the ball or whatever they might do. Yeah, right now you can't afford to forget to make a move, something like that. You need to make sure you get every little stat you can.
Yeah, and it's a rough climate right now offensively across Major League Baseball. So, yeah, if you're checking your box scores and you're seeing some 3 for 35s or some 4 for 40s, no, you aren't alone. I've been trying not to look at my standings, but then when I check my daily box scores, I see numbers like that. And I'm like, God, it can't be good. So and I have Kyle Tucker on some of my big teams. And Kyle Tucker has just been getting super unlucky. It seems like he's hitting the ball well, but just can't find any holes in the diamond.
They'll come around. That's what you want to see. You want to see them hitting the ball hard, contrary to what I talked about 6 months ago when I was wrong. You want to hit the ball hard. And he's doing that. It'll come around for Kyle Tucker. And they'll start running and everything else will come into place.
Yeah, he's got a lot of red on that StatCast page. 94th percentile X slug. So upward mobility in the lineup doesn't seem to be there because Dusty's pretty set in his ways, it seems like.
He'll earn it. He'll earn it, I think.
Yeah. Jeremy Pena leading off the past few days.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of the youngsters. Most of the youngsters around the game seem to be struggling. Bobby Witt, Julio Rodriguez, although Rodriguez getting a ton of borderline calls going against him, kind of questionable getting the rookie treatment. But Jeremy Pena bucking the trend, not only with young prospects hitters, but just hitters across the game, all hitters. He's one of a few guys doing damage right now.
You talked about Rodriguez, and then he did tattoo a ball last night. It was chased down to end the game, It was Garcia made a nice catch, and I believe it was Garcia, Adolis Garcia, to end the game last night. But no, Pena's, maybe right now, if the ball isn't traveling in the air, those that are hitting the ball down and hard, like our Little League coaches used to tell us to do, maybe those are the guys getting success. If the ball's shooting a parachute after it's hit in the air, hit the ball down and hard, and if that's what that maybe what it's going to be need to get success until the weather warms, etc. But Pena was a nice find. He was. I'm not going to say I was all over him, but he was the kind of chance I was willing to take towards the end. I'm not going to take my chances on Bobby Witt, but I am going to take him on Pena 20 rounds later, and so far so good. But I don't think we're done hearing from Bobby Witt yet.
No, I don't think so. I saw a Jesus Sanchez homer last night. Do you see that? That thing was just blistered, and it didn't. It got out in a hurry, but it didn't seem to go as far as it looked like it would off the bat.
So you didn't see my tweet, obviously, and
I didn't see it.
This is a little.
Sorry.
Perhaps this is not suitable for work. I won't swear, but when he was running the bases, to me it looked like he was. Why does it look like he's pinching a loaf? That's what it looked like to me, and I got called. Don't. Keep it clean, Zola. Like that's
dirty.
That's dirty.
Come on.
It's
pretty that's pretty run of the mill.
I haven't sworn on Twitter since I got called out by my employer or my freelancer in Bristol, who doesn't allow that. So I haven't sworn on Twitter since I've been told not to.
Interesting. I didn't know that was a rule.
Well, but, it may not be universally applied.
I see. Freelancers, though.
There may be a former employee of ESPN let's color Nady Colon that maybe would cuss once in a while, and for whatever reason, she didn't get in trouble, but whatever. So, hey, listen, I whatever.
That's
probably,
not. I don't think you'll be hearing from them about the pinching a loaf. That's kind of
I'm not worried. But I understand it's policy and it's fine, and it's all good.
By the way, with that homer the other day, yesterday, Jesus Sanchez of Miami, now top 10 in the early going in WRC plus. So early WRC plus leaders: Arenado, Jose Ramirez, Seiya Suzuki third, Matt Olson, Stephen Kwan still up there, even with some give back. He's still looking for his first homer or steal. CJ Cron's got 6 long balls already. He's at a 216 WRC plus. Wander Franco, Ty France, Jesus Sanchez, then Eduardo Escobar. Pretty nice start for him offensively. Todd, any pickups on your mind this weekend that you're kind of
hiccups? Any hiccups?
Pickups.
Oh, hiccups.
I have hiccups way too often.
You know what? There is one, and I think I got him in a league. No, I didn't get him. I'm thinking of a different league. Hoy Park was just sent down, and that is because he's not playing well, and it's because Michael Chavez is.
Yeah,
I think Chavez is an interesting pickup.
He's been crushing it lately.
Yeah, well, that's part of the problem. I'm not alone in that thinking.
Yeah,
and it's a little more than what have you done for me lately. But the fact that Park has been sent down when Anthony Alford was called up, I think it does show that Pittsburgh wants to play Chavez a little bit more. So I think he's on my list. He's on my list. I haven't really gone deep yet as far as what I want to do over the week. I don't know if you noticed. Last weekend's tout moves, mixed league was really busy. Both of the mixed leagues were really. It was just one of those weeks where I think people were just filling in for little nicky. There weren't a ton of great players available, but they were just filling in just a bunch of nicky-knack injuries. Some of them COVID, and tout does have an IL, so it's not like you can easily go out and get someone and it doesn't cost you a lot and doesn't cost you reserve. But yeah, I just noticed how busy the Tout Wars mixed leagues were last week.
I noticed that too. And you know who I got? I've had 2 pickups in my Tout Wars league, mixed head to head. I got Paul Blackburn and then Jesus Sanchez, who we were just talking about. I couldn't believe he was still sitting there. He was drafted, but then he was dropped in the first waiver period before the season, then not added in the second one. So I kept having to double check. Is this the Jay Sanchez I want?
Yeah, exactly.
But I did get him. So, replacing Mitch Haniger with Jesus Sanchez is pretty darn nice. And Paul Blackburn got a win yesterday.
Yeah. 5 innings and both teams scored more, but Oakland never lost the lead, and Blackburn got the win. Increased velocity. He's one of those guys that we're trying to apply early season, next level analytics and hoping that we're right. We'll see. But back to Sanchez, I'm looking quickly. I don't know. It's too small a sample to get anything realistic. But yeah, that was last year. He's been playing better defense. And right now he's a -2 defensive runs. But last year it was in right field and he was 5 defensive runs saved. Right now he's -2. But from a couple times he looks comfortable in center. That was my biggest concern can he play center field? And I saw him make a couple of plays, but right now he's -2 defensive runs saved in center field. Again, a little early to start looking at that. You can't multiply by 10 and say he's a -20 because we're whatever percent through the season. But that would be my concern with Sanchez is can he handle center field?
It's good to see he's striking out a little less early on.
Yeah.
His swing strike rate is about the same, but good to see the K's down a little bit. Walks are also down, but he certainly looks like one of their better hitters right now, Jesus Sanchez. At least, with a lot of guys slow to get going on that team. Some pickups from the Stake League last night, just to keep you updated. Throw some names out there and let you decide what you want to spend this weekend. But before we get into the 2-start starters, I'll give you these names. Taylor Ward, $11. Jose Siri for $10, playing quite a bit over Chas McCormick lately. Jorge Lopez of Baltimore for $7. Chad Pinder for $7. Josh Stalmont, $6. So Lopez and Stalmont went for $7 and $6 respectively. And then guys like Emilio Pagan for $3 and Hector Neris for only $2. So I actually kind of like those bottom 2 even more than Lopez and Stalmont. So there actually are some closer candidates out there this week, assuming Neris wasn't picked up and Pagan wasn't already owned, but some guys out there. And Michael Pineda, only a $3 ad. So while he looked great, doesn't seem like you'll have to break the bank for him. And Chavis, who you mentioned, Sean Murphy was picked up. He's a really good defender. This is only a one catcher league, by the way.
Had a great offensive game. Yeah, I wonder if the pickups were based upon his great game yesterday.
Odubel Herrera, who looks like he'll be back in center field for the Phillies. Not a great player, but he did go 13-6 last year. Odubel Herrera, and Josh Vierling or Matt Vierling not going to really be presenting much of a roadblock there.
Hasn't done it yet. Matt, he's gone from Matthew to Matt, and it hasn't helped. There's been several players whose names have been changed early on, like everywhere, which must mean they've come out and Nathaniel Lowe. This is what I want you to call me, and they're beginning to be changed everywhere.
I feel like I still want Luis Robert to come out and have one of those, like, here's how you say it tweets. He probably has had one at some point. I've heard it feels like that old Office meme, like snip, snap, trying to get his name right. But I think it's actually a kind of a middle point of the two pronunciations we thought. I think it's Robert.
Yeah, it could be. Have I told you my hockey story with names?
No.
All right. So this is when I was in grad school at Boston College. My roommate was really good friends with a gentleman named Paul Hebert, Hebert. Paul Hebert was from Long Island, and he had a brother that was the goaltender of the Islanders, and he went by Guy Hebert. He was Guy Hebert. Okay, that was his name, but he's playing hockey. He was known as Guy Hebert, and
French Canadian.
Yeah, he had this Long Island accent. So I never met him, but I just thought that was funny.
That is pretty.
He's like, that's my brother. I'm like, you're Hebert. And he's Hebert. Well, he's like, think of the spelling. Like, oh, okay.
And by the way, Robert, again, I think it's like a middle ground of the two pronunciations I've used in the past, but he is dealing with a minor groin strain. So probably out of your lineups this weekend, I'd imagine you kind of have to make that move.
Is there such thing as a minor groin strain?
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm checking now. I do not have the White Sox lineup in yet for today, so probably waiting to see if he needs an IL stint, Robert. But they're going to be getting AJ Pollock back, so he's another name who might be out there. And among those closer candidates I mentioned, I didn't mention Danny Jimenez, but got another save, and now has two, and Lou Trevino's on the COVID IL, so probably the cheapest of those five we mentioned, and pretty decent skills. So.
Yeah, and I mean, you kind of alluded to it in a different. We were talking about it previously. Trevino's a trade candidate.
Yeah.
So Jimenez, if you can stash, isn't a bad pickup.
A guy I picked up just because my team is so lacking in power. Daniel Vogelback. Look, I know we've all been down this road before, but currently 20th in baseball in WRC plus 177. Got 3 homers. He's walking a bit and leading off against right-handed pitching. So I just need a little pop. And I also went the stash route on Vinny Pasquantino because the KC offense is just so bad. And Pasquantino's got more walks and Ks at AAA. So I wanted Tristan Casas. He went for 4. Seems like the word's out on Casas, but since I didn't get him, Pasquantino's my fallback. Hopefully he'll be among the first wave of big-time prospects called up in season. But let's get into 2-star pitchers after this quick commercial break. Now we are back on the show, the Friday RotoWire Fantasy Baseball podcast. Good luck to Miggy tonight as he goes for number 3,000. Aaron Boone caught one of the loudest choruses of boos I've ever heard on a baseball field yesterday. Did you hear that? When he walked.
Not live, but I saw the replay. Yeah, I did see it on replay.
Ooh, man. I mean, I know Boone was just trying to win a game, but that was like I don't know, pro wrestling heel at WrestleMania type of
Yeah,
booze.
a lot
It
of
was
people were
pretty
happy that
crazy.
Meadows got a hit.
Yeah, I wonder if Boone's. I don't know, man. This Yankees team has just been so bad. I kind of think. Well, he's on the hot seat in terms of the fan base. I don't know if he's on the hot seat in terms of management or ownership, Aaron Boone, but
Yeah,
I gotta feel like that seat's getting a little hot for him. The back half of that order, especially, has been really doing very, very little. So let's
better
get
have.
into next week's two start starters. If you're unfamiliar, we grade these on a 0 to 5 scale. I'll be going a little conservative early on, although, man, uh, as you said, it's not a bad time to be streaming, but I also want to be kind of diligent with who I stream, not just throwing anybody willy nilly. But yeah, with the league wide ERAs, did you tweet that out? Is it like three? What is the
It
league
was
wide ERA right
389 last time I looked.
now?
Now the reliever ERA was like 3.37. So starters it's still up over 4, but it's still lower than what it normally is.
Yeah. So with the weather and the ball as it is, yeah, maybe not. I'm not saying don't stream, and of course we're doing this two start starter thing, but generally I am skewing a little bit more conservative, even with the offensive environment right now. And Madison Bumgarner, I'm sorry, you know what? I didn't change. So I have to change on the grid to custom start date 425. So let's see. You can follow along with us, rotowire.com/try for a 10-day trial. Merrill Kelly and Zach Davies. I can't see starting Zach Davies in any situation, so I'll give him a 0. But Merrill Kelly's been fantastic versus the Dodgers at St. Louis. Kind of a tough two-step, but I'm thinking Merrill Kelly needs to be universally rostered if he isn't already. And I guess I'll give him a 3 here, even against the Dodgers in that first start.
Couple of tough matchups, but because he's one of the few pitchers pitching more than 4 innings a start. So I'll match your 3, but yeah, I don't love the matchups.
Max Fried for Atlanta. He gets the Cubs and then at Texas. So that's a pretty nice little two-step. Cubs aren't a doormat by any means, and seems like they're striking out less as a team, but still one you feel pretty good about, especially with a high-end arm like Fried. So he's not in that 5 elite tier for me, but he's a high-end 4.
He's a 5 for me.
Yeah, that's
A
fair,
lot of
right?
it's matchups, but he's a 5.
Yeah, I hear you.
He's not an elite pitcher, but this week, I mean, he's number 5 in my list, so I have to give him a 5.
Jordan Lyles is off to a pretty nice start so far this season. 12 to 6 K to walk, 3.52 ERA. The whip's high. But man, I was watching a game out in Camden the other day, and it's such a spacious park now. It feels like, at least out in left field, wicked spacious out there. So now the ball may be traveling less on average fly ball distance, and suddenly these Orioles starters aren't an afterthought anymore. Lyles is on the road at the Yankees to start next week. Then he's home against Boston. Even with that nice start, I think I can only give him a 1, and that's like points league, AL only.
Okay, well, I'm just going to go 0 then.
Okay.
No, I need. I mean, I have him on some draft champions.
You're not starting him,
but I'm not starting him.
Okay.
But I'm not picking him up. I'm not picking him up. It's. I mean, I
He's
wouldn't
walking
mind
a fine line with all those base runners right now.
Yeah. So to me, he's still a 0.
Sorry to cut you off, by the way.
No, that's good.
Nathan Eovaldi at Toronto, at Baltimore. So he'll be matched up against Lyles in that second start. Toronto scares you, but man, down Teoscar, they're not as scary right now. They had Zach Collins cleaning up the other day. So yeah, at Toronto, at Baltimore. I think I'll give Eovaldi a 3, but am I too low on him?
No, and I just watched the series between the Red Sox and Toronto. They're still scary.
Yeah,
they're still scary. I've actually toned down. I did a couple tweaks this week to make my rankings more about when I do them with you off the cuff. They now match a little bit more. So I mean, I actually have Eovaldi at 47, which makes him a high end 3, but a 3.
I hear you. Yeah, okay. Sorry, I was muting my phone. Usually I'm good at that, but I missed it this week. All right.
I'm usually the one that gets the phone calls.
Yeah, you have a landline still, don't you?
I do. Whether I keep it next week or not, we'll find out when I move. But
yeah, good luck with that move, by the way.
Thank you.
I hope it goes well. I hate moving, but I've been entertaining the idea of a relocation as well. So I'm just so sick of this weather up here.
Oh, you're not talking like across the street. You're talking.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
Yeah, you're talking.
I kind of like Arizona.
A remote office.
Yeah.
Well, I keep saying one of these years we go to the AFL, I'm going to buy a one-way ticket. Hasn't happened yet.
I know Derek Van Riper used to say something like that too, and I'm reaching that point. Chicago Cubs, Marcus Stroman, he's got an 8.78 ERA at Atlanta, at Milwaukee. You got him for his, durability and consistency, and man, he hasn't been consistent with his performance so far. So I'm going to have to go with a 2. I think maybe that's high.
I'm going to go 3. To me, water finds its level. So, I mean, the law of averages isn't that if you're lucky, you get unlucky or vice versa. But even so, his numbers will be there at the end. So he's going to need some good starts to get there. And I'm going to give him a 3.
Waiver San Martin looked pretty good in the long relief role against the Dodgers. And then, of course, when you know it, he falls on his face again. So no real situation where I could see starting or even holding, frankly.
He's at Colorado, which pretty much disqualifies him right then and there. Is he going to go 5? We have no idea. If he's back in the Ryan Yarbrough role, I'm interested again, but not as a starter.
But not this week,
right?
Yeah, Colorado to end things could get pretty ugly. Excuse me. Shane Bieber, Tristan McKenzie at the Angels. Then at Oakland, that's pretty nice. So I think Bieber is a 5. He's looked pretty darn good so far. I was concerned about the arm, but he's looked great. And then McKenzie also has a sub 2.5 ERA. And no wins to show for it yet, but I think Bieber's a 5. And I think McKenzie, I don't trust him enough to go 4 quite yet, but I think he's a real nice 3.
Agree with you. Bieber, we haven't seen the length out of Bieber that we may have been used to. But I don't think we should call that a surprise because he hasn't pitched a full season for a little while. But yeah, McKenzie, do like what I'm seeing, do like the matchups. Good couple of good home parks on the road, but they are good parks to pitch in.
Kyle Freeland got his extension, so good for him. But and then went out and actually had a pretty nice outing. But man, the Rockies are so desperate for guys. Like you got to get him. You got to give Kyle Freeland an extension. I guess, but
it wasn't that much. I mean, to me,
I guess you got to hold on to anybody who you got.
They paid for the talent.
Willing to sign an extension.
I think they paid commensurate with the talent, except a 3.6 ERA turns into a 4.2, or 3.8 turns into a 4.5. So, and he's been a 4.4 guy. I mean, he's a 3.7, 3.8 pitcher in Colorado. So they paid proper for the talent, but the outcomes are just blown up in Colorado. Now, I mean, this week. Has one game we went to Cincinnati in town. To me, he's still a 0, but I mean, I'm not buying into he grew up in Colorado. He knows how to pitch in Colorado narrative. He's still a 0 to me.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he's been accustomed to that his whole life, but that doesn't mean he's going to fare any better at altitude.
Right.
And German Marquez, I guess if you can't spot the sucker, you are the sucker. And it got to the point in the main event where I was just like, I guess I have to take him, and I'll just. I'll be the one to pick my spots right on Marquez as well. I don't think I've even started him. Maybe I did for one of those starts, but the road start here is against Philly, so I don't think I can start him. I think that's a 0.
I got him as a 2. I don't have him, so I don't know. Push comes to shove, would I actually start him? Yeah, but I have him ranked as a 2, so I'm going to go.
It's a tough road start.
It is.
Thankfully, the home start's a layup.
We'll see. We'll see. No, I'm gonna give him the 2. I probably would start him, but I don't have that question. Now, people who go by the site know I put a mixed reliever in there, and it kind of compares. Would you use the starter against a non-closing good reliever? And he finishes one step below the mixed 12 reliever. So in a 12-team league, I wouldn't start him.
Yeah, that's a good barometer. And thanks for including that in your weekly pitcher rankings. An invaluable tool for us fantasy players. And yeah, it feels like Marquez has been at home for I guess through next week he'll be at home for 4 of his first 5, and maybe there'll be some spots I can use him in the future, but I can't use him at home right now. I can't believe some people actually started Dallas Keuchel. He's a 0 for me. I saw Jeff's tweet. He was getting a little pushback, like, "Oh, I can't believe people actually started Keuchel," and I can't either. But then I thought, well, I started Waiver San Martin opening weekend, so I can't really talk. Like, we all make mistakes. You can't. You're gonna have like hundreds of mistakes in a given fantasy season.
I haven't even corrected for in-season performance yet. I'm still basing upon my regular baseline that's going to come next week. But even now, he's still at 117 against a couple of pretty decent matchups at home. So that tells you what I think of Keuchel. And that may be because I'm only projecting like 4 innings, because I don't know if you can go a whole lot more than that right now. But this is the White Sox team that we thought was going to just walk away with that division, and they still might. But they're running into some speed bumps.
Yeah, they're already pretty thinned out. So we'll have to wait and see if that division gets pretty close, and maybe the Tigers can make it kind of close. They got Erod on the bump for 2 next week. Erod's has an ERA north of 5 so far, but I think if you drafted him, around 150 or whatever it was, man, I'd have some trouble swapping him out of my lineup. And I think I might have him in like only 1 draft and hold. And so while he hasn't been good and he gets the Dodgers in that second one at Minnesota is pretty nice. So I think I'll give Erod a 3.
Yep, get him a 3.
Yeah, he's kind of a tough guy to figure out. I thought maybe this would kind of be a situation where he could kind of finally blossom and be himself, but he just performance-wise hasn't been great.
I think he'll get there.
Framber Valdez, Jake Odorizzi. I think Odorizzi's not only not a pickup but a drop if you have him. So I'm going to give him a 0. And Framber, I guess he's let me look at these matchups again real quick. At Texas, at Toronto. I think he's a 4.
3 for me. Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't know.
But you're going 3.
I'm going 3. The Toronto scares me, but I am at 57, so that puts them dead in the middle of the 3s. So, yeah, going 3.
Not a 2-start guy next week, but did you see how many strikeouts Zach Greinke has through 3 starts?
You and me have like 2 more than him.
2 less than him.
He's got 2. Yeah, 2 fewer. Yeah. Yeah.
2 fewer. I guess they're correct.
If you can count it, it's fewer.
Yes,
that's the rule of thumb.
Good call. So yeah, you and I only have 2 fewer Ks than Zach Greinke. Man,
but we have far less talent.
Yeah, you can't quantify that. So yeah, 16 innings, you got a 2.25 ERA, but really setting you back in the K department if you've been setting Zach Greinke out there every week. Daniel Lynch is the guy who gets 2 for them, and I can't see starting him in any scenario. It's a 0.
Not yet. I mean, no, I agree. But he's gone from – actually, I have him as a 1, but I can't – I don't see that I would actually do that. But he's kind of – he doesn't stink as much as he did last year. That's kind of a dumb, really – Hall of Fame, non-Hall of Fame thing to say. I'm showing signs that he may actually, realize some of the potential.
Interesting. Yeah, I hadn't really paid a bunch of mind this year since he kind of fell on his face.
Yeah.
In his debut, but maybe he's at least building and progressing in his development. I have to take care of some business, but we did have a question in the chat. Head-to-head categories. Should he trade Chris Bryant for Goldie? It's hard not knowing the head-to-head cats. I'd imagine it's pretty standard, but I don't think I would do that.
They're very similar players.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get more variance with Bryant at home. To me, it comes down to the multiple eligibility of Bryant. If it will help you at some point that he's got outfield eligibility, because with Goldie and Bryant, you figure they're going to be your corner. But if it would help you at some point to get that outfield, I would prefer Bryant. Otherwise, it's as pretty close to a wash as you can get.
I'm with you, man. I already have Bryant in the outfield where I have him, and so many of my leagues, my outfield is pretty messy right now. So I think I'm with you. I think I'd side with the guy who has that outfield eligibility to go along with that corner third base eligibility. Man, Arenado's off to a great start. I'm not,
Yep.
on this conversation, but I was thinking of Goldie and that Cardinals team, and Arenado's leading all of baseball right now in Fangraphs WAR, 1.3. So he seemed determined to kind of bounce back after what he deemed a below his standard season, his first year in St. Louis.
Yep.
Seems to be back with a vengeance, like Die Hard with a Vengeance, one of my early favorites on the movie side. Real quick, take care of some bills here. Bet against others with no fees involved. That's right, no pesky hidden fees to ruin your day. Better Edge is a social betting marketplace where there's no fee on each transaction. Better Edge is a social betting marketplace, and chances are it's legal in your state. We bring betting back to its social roots where you can like, comment, and challenge other users all within the app. Play without getting played at Better Edge. Go to betteredge.com. That's BETTOREDGE.com to sign up today. Also, baseball is back. That's right. An entire glorious season, all 162 games. And with live events resuming, you can actually be there to catch all the action in person with Vivid Seats. Every backdoor slider, every round tripper, and every double header can be experienced live. With Vivid Seats rewards, you can start earning free tickets from your very first purchase. Just buy, collect stamps, and redeem. It's that easy. From behind the dugout to upper level, Vivid Seats has you covered for all the games that matter to you. Pro tip, buy tickets for your whole group, split the bill, and make progress towards your free ticket even faster. Just visit vividseats.com or download the app today. Vivid Seats, life happens live. Back to next week's two-start starters, then we'll recap our grades for these guys once it's all said and done. We're now on to the Los Angeles Angels. So it looks like they have the rare week where one of their starters will get to, and it looks like it'll be Michael Lorenzen. He got out of the pitching hell that is Great American Ballpark and had a great first start, a little bit of a step back. His second time out gave up 4 runs, but that was against Houston, so you kind of give him a little bit of a mulligan. He gets Cleveland at home and then the White Sox. So I'm still not sold on Michael Lorenzen as like a full season long stud. He's had a lot of health issues, but I think with this 2-step, he's a decent 2.
I may have these adjustments I made. We're kind of in lockstep again. So I have him as a 2. So I don't know if I made the right adjustments or wrong because they weren't designed to match you, but maybe that's not a bad thing.
Well, it sounds like you made a mistake.
What I did was I kind of feel that I put too much into the 2-start aspect of it, and by the numbers, I understand it does what it does. But I think I think it hurts ratios. I think it hurts ratios more than it helps them. And I think I need to just tone down. When a guy has 2 starts, I didn't count it as 2 starts. It's counted like as 1.8 starts. If that gets added in. So I found the right number. I think I found the right number there. That was the adjustment I made for people that are curious because I do like to talk about the sausage and et cetera. But Lorenzen I do have as a 2.
Nice. Yeah. I do appreciate you showing us how, the process behind your takes on a lot of these. And I think it is important to point out that you shouldn't just assume he's getting 2. We have him tentatively penciled in for 2, but who's to say there's not rain on the south side of Chicago next weekend? So when you're looking at this, don't just say, oh, Lorenzen's getting 2. I'll project him for 10 innings. Like that may not be how it works.
And he gets Cleveland in that one game, the team that's a juggernaut right now.
Somehow
right?
a juggernaut, yeah.
Oh man,
not gonna last. Good for them, swinging it hot early. Walker Buehler is a 5 for me, but any concerns with his fastball? I saw, velocity seems to be all right, but it seems to be he's getting knocked around a little more than I expected.
But
I don't really have many concerns.
That was the whole offseason argument was that he wasn't as good as his expected. He wasn't as good as his actual ERA. His expected ERA was half a run higher, and the algorithmic systems had him around 3.7, 3.8, and He's been 2.7, 2.8, maybe not that high, maybe 3.5, 3.6 guy. So I think what we're seeing is regression, a little bit of regression, and the skills will still take hold. And he's still a very, very good pitcher. But I think he was outpitched his peripherals early in his career, and I think that's all we're seeing.
Yeah, I thought
And
maybe
I do have the 5.
Once a guy does it so many times, I think there's something to the ability to beat those on a consistent basis.
There isn't.
I guess there isn't.
There isn't. It's one of those things. He has one of those expressions that I thought I made up, and too many other people have said it that I didn't make it up. It just makes too much sense. He beat the peripherals until he doesn't.
Yeah.
And it's not as if these million people heard me say that. And I'm going to copy Zola. So it's just kind of a cute saying that other people recognize as well. Anyway.
I guess you can only beat him for so long, but like that was the case with Kyle Hendricks, and for so many years he beat him, but
it's kind of
not going to happen every single year.
It's kind of an oversimplification of what's going on. Mm-hmm. But if you use luck, use lucky, unlucky as a binary, 50-50 chance of it happening, and over a 6-year period, one person out of 32 pitchers is going to be lucky all 6 years. Flip a coin 6 times, 32 people flip a coin 6 times, and one of them is going to get all heads and one of them is going to get all tails, just out of probability. So to me, that's what, so now, all right, 6-year period, if you had 332 numbers, multiply that by 10, now you're up to 320. Now you're up to, the number of pitchers in the league. So, there's going to be 10 pitchers that are lucky 6 years in a row by probability. It's an oversimplification. It's not that easy, but it does kind of frame why it might not be beating his peripherals. That there's still the probability is someone's going to be that lucky for that long.
I hear you, man. Well, the guy who's been kind of unlucky, at least in terms of run support, Sandy Alcantara, he's kind of taken that baton from Jacob deGrom as far as that dominant ace who just can't get many wins. He does have one, but I think he got robbed the other day. He's got a 1.86 ERA. That's a 5 for me.
5 for me too.
And same with the 2 Brewers starters, right? I guess Burns is versus San Fran, and then Woodruff's at Pitt, and then they're both versus Chicago. But either way, both 5s.
Burns got the number 1 spot right now for me, and I think it's by a pretty good amount. Yeah, he's by a good amount over Scherzer. And, Woodruff is a second. So I'm going to have to think of a Burns quip for my headline this week in the piece.
Yeah, you'll have to think of something witty to use there. The Twins, I think they're getting Sonny Gray back, or they hope to next week. So no 2-start starters for them. And then Scherzer's a 5. Yep. We're in a pretty easy stretch of 5s here.
Yeah. There's a few.
He looks fantastic early on. Mm-hmm. Luis Severino. You may include him in the 5s. I mean, I think you can make a good case for it. His strikeouts were down a little bit this last time out. But you love to see this guy pumping that similar gas. I did think it was kind of interesting to see a little bit of a pitch mix change for him. He's not really throwing the slider at all. But you have to be encouraged if you took that leap of faith with Severino. I think I'm going to give him a 4 just because I need to see a little bit more after like 2+ years off. But I think he's right there on the verge of being a 5.
Right. I mean, a 5, I don't know if you can expect 6 innings, but I mean, you know what? Out of 5, I kind of do expect 6 innings to start. I'm not there yet. I mean, he's gone 3, 5, and 5. Severino has. So I'm still in the 4 range, but I agree the skills could be a 5, but I don't know that he's going to get the innings. If he, between 10 and 12 innings is probably where he'll end up. But to me, I can't project him enough to land in the 5 range.
Yeah, again, you have to be encouraged with the velocity, but
maybe
the slider. I think the slider was what actually gave him the arm trouble in the first place. So bagging that actually makes some sense. So he's throwing more cutters and change-ups. He seems to have bagged the slider essentially. Oakland's got 2 days off. Were you going to add something?
I don't know that this is the case, but it's a good time to when a guy like Severino, who hasn't been pitching a lot the past couple of years, with all the ways of classification, I don't know that this is the case, but what I want to look up is, when you talk about a slider and a cutter and a curve, sometimes it's just a different classification of the same pitch.
Yeah, maybe the cutter's getting labeled.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know for Severino. That's something I'm going to look up after the show. To me, you look up the movement, the velocities, et cetera, because one of the, I believe, is even Statcast, which you think would be very, very objective. They said that they call the pitch what the pitcher calls the pitch. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of if the pitcher says it's throwing a slider, it gets marked as a slider in Statcast. It doesn't get judged by the movement, et cetera.
Yeah.
So
I wonder when we're going to get the classification of the sweeper, which is kind of a buzzword around baseball right now.
Yeah.
But I wonder if we'll see that classification pop up on Fangraphs or Baseball Savant soon. Mm-hmm. Kyle Gibson, Zach Eflin. We're skipping over the A's because they got 2 off days next week. But for the Phillies, Gibson and Eflin. Eflin's kind of struggled so far, but I actually think maybe you go out and pick him up because he's home against Colorado, then at the Mets, this most spacious, pitcher-friendly park in baseball. I'm not willing to give up on Eflin. I'd have to be kind of desperate, but that's kind of the case in my main. I don't know if he's even available there, but I would consider Eflin on my waterfalls this weekend, even though it's been a struggle for the most part. So I'll give Eflin a 2, and I think Gibson's a 3. Actually, I'm going to give Eflin a 1, Gibson a 3.
Yeah, it might just be that I went into the season high on Eflin. So when I make the adjustment for in-season numbers, it may drop them down a little bit. But I actually have Eflin a couple of spots higher than Gibson, and they're both in the 3 range. So I'm wondering if I'm going to stick with the 3 for Eflin. Now we talk about the Mets; their offense still doesn't scare me.
Yeah, and I do want to say you got to remember when Eflin starts was in Colorado. So
yeah, so I'm going to go 3 for both, and a lot of that has to do with perhaps being a little bit optimistic with Eflin. I don't know how many innings I haven't projected for. It may also be that I don't think he's a 5-inning for sure guy, which he will be, but I don't know that he is there yet. So, and when I look at the average innings per start, I mean, right now it's based on 2 starts. So a guy like Jose Barrios, it's low because he had that terrible less than an inning, and even if he throws 7 the next time, it's still under 5, below 5. So Eflin went 5 2/3 last time. So I'm gonna in Colorado, and I know. So I'm gonna keep him where he is.
All right, I'm actually gonna bump him up to a 2. So I
okay,
kind of like on a whim lowered him to 1, but I'm gonna go back to 2 on Eflin.
Okay.
Mitch Keller looked like those people who took the plunge on him were really gonna pay a hefty price. But then he had a bounce back effort. He took the loss against Milwaukee the other day,
right.
But 5 1/3 innings, only 1 earned run allowed. Most importantly, 7 Ks against 0 walks. So maybe those who bought in, maybe the book isn't closed completely on Keller. He does still have a 6.23 ERA, but then he gets these Brewers again, and then versus San Diego. So 2 home starts. What do you think? Do you pick up Keller if he was dropped and maybe turn him loose?
He's in the 0 range, but I can see, I may need to do an adjustment. I don't know that I adjust. I'm not going to adjust too much, but I was kind of more pessimistic coming in. And like you said, he's shown signs in the first few starts, but he hasn't, crushed it. Yeah, to me, there's enough there that if for whatever reason you need to make up ground, head-to-head league or something of that effect, I can see making a play for Keller this week and using him as a 1 or 2, although I do have him ranked currently as a 0.
Yeah, I think if he's a guy, like if he was dropped and you say, I want to see a little more, you're probably going to be too late. So
yeah,
maybe pounce now, even if you don't want to use him for this 2, but maybe you take him up now and see how he fares. Yeah.
2 home games. Not offenses are they're good offenses that are struggling because of injury probably. So yeah, I can see picking him up and, overriding my system because it does good. It doesn't forget, but it also doesn't recognize short-term as well as, someone who's more of a touch and feel guy does.
Well, the results for Keller haven't carried over from the spring. At least the velocity has. So he has something to build on.
Yeah.
Joe Musgrove at Cincy at Pitt. That's a 6. Maybe you might have broken the scale. I am, credit to Jeff Erickson. He was all over Musgrove, and I was in the past, but not this year. So I didn't hit the right year. I saw him, and yeah, it was against the Reds, but he looks very ace-ish. So I think he's a guy who'll probably be in that ace group, assuming he keeps it up at a similar level. He has, what does he have? He has a 21 to 1 K to walk. Is that good?
I think it's pretty good. Now we were differing on him throughout the course of the off season, or maybe I'm mistaking you for somebody else, but I thought you were a little concerned about how we finished the season.
I did have some concerns because he had that no hitter, and then he was just kind of
I didn't have as much concern, and I mean, he's a top 10 this week. He's an easy 5, but for sure. I mean, it's still early too. I mean, but at least so far the early returns, and that team needs. San Diego, they need the good pitching because Darvish hasn't done all that well lately. That it's kind of gone under the radar. They need that ace.
And Logan Gilbert's also looking pretty ace-ish. I mean, 2-0 with a 0.54 ERA. He's at the Trop to start things, where hitters notoriously struggle. And then he's at Miami. So, man, another guy who could quickly emerge into those top tiers of starting pitchers. And well, he's not quite there yet. I think with these matchups, I'm going to have to give Logan Gilbert a 5.
I have him ranked at 16. So that's top 20. That's
a 5. That is a 5.
Yeah, 1 to 20 is a 5.
Yeah.
And the matchups, the parks, and is he an ace? He's a fledgling ace. But I'm gonna give him a 5. That's what the numbers say.
No 2-start starters for San Francisco. We'll see if they get Cobb back next week. Very tentative there in San Francisco.
I'll keep an ear out for it.
Sounds good. Was that an ear of corn, or was that a corn joke?
A corny joke, perhaps.
And you're on a roll. I love it. Miles Michaelis, Jordan Hicks. Jordan Hicks, I can't start yet until he's more stretched out, and he kind of had a hiccup. Yesterday. So he only went 3 innings, so took the loss. He's going to be a 0, but Michaelis has been great versus the Mets, versus Arizona. You love those matchups, even with the Mets, playing well right now. So I think I'm going to give Michaelis. I think he's a 4. Suddenly,
I'm going to stick with a 3 just because he's such a pitch to contact guy.
Yeah, he's been all over the map throughout his career.
Yeah, I mean he could. Yeah, but to me he's a 3. But I would start him for sure.
Mm-hmm. Let me just get the spreadsheet updated. By the way, I will include every single grade in the show notes moving forward. So I'll copy and paste those into the show notes so that you can, copy and paste them into a spreadsheet or whatever you want to do with those. Josh Fleming stepping in for Tampa Bay. I forget who he was stepping in for. Was it seems like it should be obvious to me, but I forget who it was. Let me just double check that real quick on our depth charts. So I guess Luis Patino.
Yeah, but Baz has been out. Patino. Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Either way, but for some reason I felt like Fleming was not in the rotation to start the year. Then now he is. But either way, not a guy I'm going to be trusting in many spots versus Seattle, versus Minnesota. Maybe a 1.
If word leaks out that he's primary pitcher and not the starter, yes, I'll go with the 1. But I don't think he's going to go 5.
Yeah, so, I would. If he were the new Ryan Yarbrough.
Well, he was for a while, and now
maybe he will be again.
I mean, if it's announced that Jalen Beeks or somebody is going to open, then but we don't know with Toronto with Tampa. They spring it on us. So without any other knowledge than he's potentially starting, I'm not going to use him this week.
So 0?
Yeah.
All right. So next up, Texas Rangers, Dane Dunning, Taylor Hearn. I can't start either one of those guys. 0.
I like them both, but I cannot justify. They're both in the – I see Dunning's in the 0 range. I'm going to look at Hearn real quickly. I do still like them both. But I can't make an argument. Actually, Hearn is my lowest rated 2-start pitcher of the week, so I can't make an argument there.
I made a lot of missteps already, it seems safe to say, in my main event league. But one that was not a misstep was getting Kevin Gaussman as my SP3 in the 6th round. He's just been unbelievable. So,
SP3?
yeah,
He's my
in the main.
SP1 in most places.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was one where I got kind of lucky and things look good there. Barrios has not been good. Don't have a ton of concerns, but I think for this exercise, I'm going to go Gaussman 5 and then Barrios 4, just because right now it does feel like he's a level or two below Gaussman.
Well, I'm going to go 5 with Barrios, and having seen him pitch against the Red Sox, they got to him in the first inning, and then he settled down the rest of the game. I mean, he's had 2 good outings since the blow-up. You take away, I mean, he's given up a lot of hits, but 11 strikeouts, 4 walks in 11 innings, other than the blow-up. And the 2 games that we're talking about were at New York and at Boston. You say what you want about both teams struggling, it's still New York and Boston. So I think
it doesn't get much easier for him, though. I mean, Boston and Houston.
Yeah, it's gonna be a while. Well, Houston's not hitting right now. Houston's not hitting at all right now. It's going to take a long time to get rid of that point 1, a third of an inning in 4 runs. It's going to take a long time for Barrios to have that stabilize, have that get out. But I think he's. I mean, to me, he's fine.
Yeah, you're right. That first outing will skew things for a long time.
It's going to leave a mark.
Jose Barrios. Yeah. 11K. Everything looks okay. The Ks are fine, but the walks are a little high, and the hits you mentioned 17 and
the hits are
11
high.
in the third. So
the last 2, but he was BABIP'd in Boston, if I recall.
Okay.
And I think. Well, the thing is, some people, including myself, were kind of hoping Barrios would take the next step, and he kind of did last year. Maybe he's giving that back, and he's solid. He's not spectacular.
Well put. And then Yoan Adon, I feel like we've had him on the list for a few weeks in a row. Maybe not, but at least one other week. He's a 0, right?
He's a 0, but didn't he have a really good outing last? I know that maybe it was Tout Daily that
I missed
that he used. Yeah, I mean, not really. Well, yeah, in
doubleheader.
Yeah, so 6 1/3, 5 Ks, 2 walks. It wasn't fantastic, but in DFS scoring, that plays.
Yeah, he hung up a 0 in the earned run column. So over 6 1/3, that ain't bad. It was against Arizona though. So
to me it was a good in a DraftKings. It was a very smart, and it was a Tuesday, so that would have been a Tout Daily. I think at the Siege, I think our friend the Siege had him. I'm sure other people did as well, CJ. But I did happen to know the Siege had him, and good call.
Yeah, that's a nice, low cost play if you hit that one right on the day of that gem from Adon. All right, so let's recap our grades for next week. The week of April 25th, 2022. Merrill Kelly 3, Zach Davies 0, Max Fried I say 4, Todd 5, Jordan Lyles I say 1, Todd 0, Nathan Eovaldi 3, Marcus Stroman I say 2, Todd 3, Raver San Martin 0, Shane Bieber 5, Tristan McKenzie 3, Kyle Freeland 0, Herman Marquez I have 0 but Todd 2, Dallas Keuchel 0, Eduardo Rodriguez Erod 3, Jake Odorizzi 0, Framber Valdez I got 4, Todd 3, Daniel Lynch 0, Michael Lorenzen 2, Walker Buehler 5, Sandy Alcantara 5, Corbin Burns 5, Brandon Woodruff 5, Max Scherzer 5, Luis Severino 4, Kyle Gibson 3, Zach Eflin I say 2, Todd 3, Mitch Keller 1, Joe Musgrove 5, Logan Gilbert 5, Miles Michaelis 4, Todd 3, Jordan Hicks 0, Josh Fleming I say 1, Todd 0, Dane Dunning 0, Taylor Hearn 0, Kevin Gaussman 5, Jose Barrios I say 4, Todd 5, and then Yoan Adon 0. Todd, anything else on your mind today as we wrap things up?
No, well, looking forward to our final show together on MLB Network Radio tomorrow, and we're also doing Fantasy Network tomorrow, aren't we?
Yeah, James is off, and you're stepping in, so I'm excited to chat for a couple hours. I think I got to text Jason Collette. I'll try to get Jason on, and Should be a fun show either way.
Who's that? Do
Jason
I know
Collette.
him? Oh, all right, yeah, all right,
Who?
okay.
And if you have a guest that you really want to invite on, I mean, by all means. But either way, I think it's going to be a fun couple hours. And yeah, the last MLB show together, and then before Eric Halterman takes over for me.
Yeah, we're off the last week in April.
Yeah, and actually we're off we're off on the Fantasy Channel next Saturday as well for the NFL Draft. So join us tomorrow if you can. Todd, thanks so much. Thank you all for listening. We'll be back next week on the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast.